Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of those shows that stood out even at what many would consider to be the peak of Western animated shows, running in the same era as classic SpongeBob, prime Fairly Odd Parents, OG Powerpuff Girls, Chowder, Teen Titans, and many other classics. And yet, in my experience from interacting with people who have love and passion for cartoons, and seeing many online conversations about this era of cartoons since the early days of YouTube, and occasionally even some other forums, Avatar: The Last Airbender seems to have been what stuck with people in a more real sense as they've grown up. And I want to throw out what I believe made the show stand out, especially at a time when there were so many good cartoons coming out, and finish this video with a short little discussion about what I believe the impact of Avatar: The Last Airbender was on Western animation. So let's get to it. So, the question is, what made Avatar so different? Well, I believe there are a few factors that set this generationally loved show apart from many other shows, starting with something that became more prominent in the 2010s with shows like Adventure Time, Gravity Falls, and Steven Universe. That being that it was a show that was geared towards more than just the channel's general demographic, which for this era of Nick I believe would be 5 to 12. While it was technically a kids show, it still had a lot of great, powerful messages, such as preserving the world around you and the many lessons revolving around acceptance of yourself and others. But the truly special thing about it was that it taught these lessons to its audience without feeling like it was preaching at us. It felt like there was a genuine attempt by the creators to talk to the audience. But not just talking to the audience for the sake of doing it. It felt like through the portrayal of these characters, the showrunners wanted to tell their audience about the hardships we may find ourselves fighting against, and that there are ways to navigate through them, even if and when it gets difficult. One of the many lessons in the show that I believe portrays just how masterfully this supposed kids show is at teaching is with Zuko and his redemption, which will be getting its own video in the future, so subscribe if you're interested in that. Throughout Zuko's arc of redemption and growth, the show focuses on how he struggles taking this path and making the right decisions. It took the time to show him fall off his path, betraying Uncle Iroh, the man who saw him as his own son and guided him as such, but then finds his way on the right path and has to navigate his way through that path, but this time by himself. A lesser show, or at least one that is less confident in its ability to write character arcs, would have made it a straight shot. That is to say, they would have simplified the arc by having him go from the Fire Nation to Team Avatar, not affording him the time to fall and pull himself back up before joining the gang. And that wouldn't have stuck with the audience nearly as much, because that lacks the very human aspect of making mistakes and having to get back up, correct those mistakes, and stick true to what you believe is the right thing to do. Because we see Zuko make these mistakes along his path, it feels more earned when he finally gets his redemption, when he finally reclaims his honor and doesn't allow it to be something other people can dictate if he has or does not have. Teaching to an audience and teaching at one are two very different things, and Avatar: The Last Airbender excelled at teaching to its audience as opposed to teaching at us. Something else that set this show apart was its magic system. Bending as a power system feels so real with how natural it is, how the movements work perfectly with the actions of the person doing the movements, how the abilities interact with the world around them, and how well it's used to reflect the bender's mental state and their growth, how well it shows Aang's progress throughout the show, how we see Katara's progression, how Zuko's stance and style changed as the show went on, going from a more aggressive firebender to being more calm and calculated in the last Agni Kai, bending with an open hand and adopting stances from other bending styles like the earthbender stance he takes when he breaks Azula's flames with his own, showing that he's taken Uncle Iroh's advice to heart and is applying it to his life. Then, with Katara, we get a clear representation of growth, but also her mental state, specifically when she went on her life-changing field trip with Zuko, where we see her taking Hama's advice, bending the water around her with the rain, and also blood bending. All of this is done to show that she's not in the right state of mind going down a path that she swore she wouldn't go down, and that her hate and anger has consumed her. Along with the power system, there was stellar choreography all throughout the show. This is because the creators actually studied the martial arts done in the show to give the characters realistic movement while they were fighting. This type of love for the craft is shown all throughout ATLA, and I think the choreography for the bending and fights is where that passion for this show really shines, showing how much passion and love went into making this show. Another thing that this show gets praised for is how it handled its quote-unquote disabled character, Toph. She's blind, and the show will always remind you of that, but it will also make you respect the hell out of this blind girl who became the best earthbender due to what others would call a disability. Being taught how to earthbend by the original earthbenders, the Badger Moles, would already set her apart from any earthbender not named Boomy in both Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra, but on top of that, her sensory capabilities are better than anybody else's in the show because, due to her blindness, she developed another way to see the world around her using seismic sense. This allows her to see things other people who have fully functioning eyes can't see, such as her identifying people who are lying, as well as sensing Wan Shi Tong's library under the desert. The only person who was able to get around Toph's sensory abilities is Azula, and that's because it's fucking Azula. But back to the otherwise abled blind girl who kicked the ass of every grown person she came up against. Using seismic sense, the ability she created, she went on to create a sub-bending. By using seismic sense, she could feel the unrefined earth in some metal and was able to bend it, freed herself from a cage, and kicked two grown men's asses. She's just like that. The show doesn't try to make her feel like some untouchable monster though. Things like her having to hold on to people when she's not on solid ground, as well as her crush on Sokka. They could have gone down the route of taking out all nuance of her character and attempt to skate by off brownie points because they have a blind character, but they didn't, and they gave her an actual character. They didn't just give her a character, they made her one of the best characters in the show. I would be very remiss if I didn't talk about Iroh in some shape, way, or form in this video, because he is the perfect old man mentor slash guide character, as well as being my favorite character in Avatar. He is the primary source of knowledge throughout this show, as well as Zuko's guide on his way to becoming a part of the gang. He's also a very good example of how this show makes you care about the cast. Because in this show full of emotional and powerful moments, the one who has the most emotional moment is Iroh, with him singing Leaves from the Vine. There are real humans with trauma responses to that song. But something that's special about this character is that people can relate to having somebody like Iroh in their life. Someone who has passed down knowledge to you, somebody that has mentored you, somebody that has cared for you like you are their own child. And I just love that they have this character arc in this show. Especially since Iroh is the representation of a healthier form of masculinity, while his brother Ozai is supposed to depict the more sinister, evil side of it. There are plenty of other things that this show excelled at, and a lot of stuff that affects the individual watcher on a person-by-person basis. Things like you resonating with a certain character. I just did that with Iroh. The story, or maybe you're just one of the 5 people that thought the show had good romance with somebody other than Sokka. I wanted to list the main things I see as what sets this show apart. Now, for my little rant. What was the impact of Avatar: The Last Airbender? I believe Avatar: The Last Airbender laid the groundwork for CN, Nick, and Disney to take more chances with cartoons and regular shows with actual character progression and development, and wanting to create more shows that have the same type of impact that Avatar had. That's how I believe we ended up with shows like Adventure Time, Regular Show, Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, Star Versus when that was good, so on and so forth. These are shows that have character progression, some type of plot, and they'll give you real life lessons while they do it. While I'll usually credit Adventure Time as the flag bearer of this era, I do believe that Avatar paved the road for that era to walk down, and for the following era headed up by Teen Titans Go to fully destroy it. And the funny thing is, it destroyed it so completely that it pushed anime to become mainstream so that people could get away from the plague of bad cartoons. At least that's what I believe. Let me know if you agree or disagree down below. Didn't affect me either way, I've been an anime fan since I was 3. That's what I've got for this video. Do you agree, disagree, do you have your own points to add? Please leave them down below. I'd love to see your thoughts on this, especially since this show means so much to so many people. And while you're down there, who's your favorite character and why? I'm interested to know what this community thinks and what it values in its characters. If you enjoyed this video, I'd encourage you to watch another one. If you enjoyed that one, please subscribe. I'd love to have you here. With that said, have a nice day, and I'll catch you in the next video. See you next time.